Everyone says Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport. The fastest cars, the smartest engineers, the greatest drivers on Earth. But here's a question almost nobody asks. If Formula One drivers are really the best in the world, why don't they race everywhere else? Could they jump into a NASCAR stock car and beat veterans who've spent decades mastering oval racing? Could they survive the chaos of rally where one wrong note sends you flying into a forest? Could they last 24 hours at Le Mans without falling asleep? Could they conquer the endless dunes of Dakar? Or even survive a MotoGP bike with nothing protecting them but a leather suit? Or would the world's greatest driver suddenly look completely average? Today, we're putting one elite Formula One driver through the toughest racing disciplines on Earth. Not to see if they can drive, but to see if they can survive. And trust me, by the end of this video, you might completely change your mind about what the world's best driver actually means. Calling someone the world's best driver sounds simple until you realize there isn't just one kind of driving. Imagine asking the world's best swimmer to win Olympic gymnastics. They're both elite athletes. They're both incredibly talented. But they're built for completely different challenges. Motorsport works exactly the same way. Formula One drivers spend their entire lives mastering one very specific machine. Smooth asphalt, ultralight cars, ridiculous downforce, millimeter-perfect precision, and split-second reactions. But outside Formula One, everything changes. Sometimes the car weighs almost twice as much. Sometimes there isn't even a road. Sometimes you're racing through the middle of the night. Sometimes you're flying across sand dunes. And sometimes you don't even have four wheels. So before we call anyone the greatest driver alive, let's find out how far that greatness really goes. Our first challenge doesn't sound very scary until you climb inside the car. At first glance, NASCAR looks easy. Turn left again, repeat 400 times, right? Yeah. Tell that to the drivers who spend 4 hours trapped inside what basically feels like an oven. Cockpit temperatures can climb to around 150 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 65 degrees Celsius. During a single race, drivers can lose 5 to 10 pounds of body weight just through sweat. Imagine finishing a race lighter than when you started. Congratulations! You just completed motorsport's weirdest weight loss program. But the heat isn't the hardest part. Traffic is. Formula One drivers usually battle one, maybe two cars at a time. NASCAR? You're surrounded by 35 other drivers, barely inches apart, at nearly 320 kilometers per hour. One tiny mistake and suddenly your car has become someone else's braking system. Then there are all the things Formula One drivers never really grow up learning. Drafting, bump drafting, side drafting, dirty air. These aren't just techniques, they're instincts, skills built over thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of laps. Even some of the greatest crossover drivers in history needed years to understand NASCAR. So, could an elite Formula One driver survive? Absolutely. Could they eventually win races? Probably. Could they dominate the championship? Not a chance. At least not immediately. Because compared to what's coming next, NASCAR almost feels comfortable. Now let's remove one small luxury. Power steering. Sounds insignificant. It isn't. Imagine doing an entire gym workout using only your arms while driving at nearly 380 kilometers per hour. Welcome to IndyCar, especially on an oval. Unlike Formula One, where power steering helps reduce the physical effort, IndyCar drivers have to wrestle the steering wheel themselves. And that's only the beginning. At tracks like Iowa Speedway, drivers experience between 4 and 6 Gs for lap after lap. Not once, not twice, hundreds of times. That's enough to make breathing difficult. Some drivers even briefly hold their breath through corners because the forces are so intense. Your neck hurts. Your shoulders hurt. Your forearms feel like they're on fire. Your hands are screaming. And somehow you're still expected to hit the exact same racing line every single lap. Formula One absolutely prepares drivers for incredible G-forces. But IndyCar asks a completely different question. Not, can you survive one perfect qualifying lap? Instead, can you survive hours of this? It's a marathon disguised as a sprint. Could our Formula One driver adapt? Absolutely. Could they fight for wins? Probably. But becoming champion? That's another story, because somebody else has already spent 20 years mastering this exact environment. And our next challenge removes something even more important than power steering, the racetrack itself. Welcome to Rally, where there are no runoff areas, only trees, cliffs, rocks, and blind corners. Formula One is about memorizing every inch of a circuit. Rally? The road changes every few kilometers. Sometimes it's dry, sometimes muddy, sometimes covered in snow, sometimes all three on the same stage. But here's the craziest part. You can't even see what's coming. Instead, someone else tells you. Every rally driver has a co-driver reading pace notes. Left 5, right 3. Crest? Jump. You're driving flat out, trusting another human being with your life. One wrong note and you're in the forest. Could a Formula One driver survive rally? Probably. They're fast enough. They're talented enough. But dominating? That's a completely different challenge. Because rally isn't just about driving. It's about trust, adaptability, and reacting to roads you've never even seen before. Now imagine racing for an entire day. Literally. Welcome to Le Mans. Formula One races usually last around 90 minutes. Le Mans lasts 24 hours. You race through daylight, sunset, midnight, rain, fog, sunrise, then daylight again. Fatigue becomes your biggest rival, not the other drivers. You're sharing the car with teammates, managing tires, fuel, traffic, and your own body. Every mistake becomes more likely because your brain is slowly running out of energy. Formula One tests maximum performance. Le Mans tests endurance. Completely different skills. Then there's Dakar, the race where there isn't even a road anymore. Only sand, endless sand, massive dunes, hidden rocks, and navigation mistakes that can cost hours. Forget racing lines, forget curbs, forget braking markers. Here, the entire desert is the track. Drivers often spend over 10 hours inside the vehicle. One navigation mistake can leave you completely lost. The world's best Formula One driver could probably drive incredibly fast. The problem is, fast doesn't matter if you're heading in the wrong direction. And finally, Moto GP. No roof, no seatbelts, no 4 wheels, no giant wings creating downforce. Just you, a motorcycle, and physics. Everything changes. Your body becomes part of the machine. You lean impossible angles into corners. Your knee skims across the asphalt. Lose grip, and there's nothing around you. You're simply sliding across the track. Could a Formula One driver survive MotoGP? Probably not without years of motorcycle experience, because this isn't just another race car, it's an entirely different sport. So, can the world's best Formula One driver survive every motorsport? Yes. Given enough time, enough practice, and enough respect for each discipline, they could absolutely become competitive almost anywhere. But here's the important part. Being the world's best driver doesn't mean being the best at every kind of driving. Because every motorsport rewards different skills. NASCAR rewards racecraft. IndyCar rewards endurance and strength. Rally rewards trust and adaptability. Le Mans rewards consistency. Dakar rewards navigation. MotoGP rewards balance and courage. Every discipline has its own legends, its own specialists, its own masters. So maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. The real question isn't, who's the world's best driver? It's, how many completely different ways are there to become one? And honestly, that's what makes motorsport so incredible.